This is going to be a longer video. I'm going to show the entire process of me freeze branding Phil yesterday after I picked her up. So this is my PSA. First and foremost, no animals were harmed in the making of this video. If you're going to come into the comment section and try to argue and say that this is abuse, do 5 minutes of research about freeze branding before you come into the comment sections, basing your arguments off of feelings of what makes you uncomfortable and not a horse. Horses are not people. I am a former vet tech and I have freeze branded thousands of horses and many of my personal horses. The first couple of times that I did do my personal horses, I did use a squeeze chute, but I never used twitches, I never used sedation, no tricks, no gimmicks, no medication administered prior, solely just put them into the chute and freeze branded them, and that's it. This time I did not put my horse into the chute for the specific reason to show you guys how painless of a process this actually is. Freeze branding actually does not hurt any more than giving your horses their annual vaccines. And if you think freeze branding my horses so they don't get stolen and sent to slaughter is too abusive, then you should never own a gelding, because gelding a stud is 1,000,000 times more painful, more invasive, and a lot longer healing process and a lot more stressful on a horse and hard on a horse than a freeze brand ever will be. If you want to argue, do 5 minutes of research on Google and back it up with scientific evidence, not arguments based on feelings of what could cause you discomfort as a person. Horses are not people. In fact, the only reason why veterinarians even recommend sedating a horse during the freeze branding process is not due to the pain aspect, because there's minimal pain, but it's due to the aspect that you have to hold a freeze brand in the exact same place anywhere from 10 to 40 seconds. So it's to prevent the horse from moving and coming out with an unclear brand. And if you need to pause and read these, go ahead. And this is where it specifies that the vets sedate horses due to the fact that they don't want horses to move during the freeze branding process. So prior to freeze branding a horse, you need to clip the area that needs to be branded. And you want to get as close to the skin as possible without damaging the skin, obviously. So I actually use surgical clipper blades on my horses to get that really clean, close to the skin shave on the area. So for those of you who don't know, I was actually Phil's second adopter when I originally got her 4 years ago. She was adopted out by another guy who went to prison for animal neglect and abuse, and she was pretty severely abused, and she's always been really shy about things that make loud noise around her head. So I did hobble her here for the clipping, just because I know that she's pretty jumpy about things that make loud noises around her head, and I just wanted to take it slow and really reassure her that things were okay. And with these surgical clipper blades, if a horse gets to moving around too much or jerks too much, you can cut the skin open and cause a laceration. So I wanted to make sure that she was minimalized in movement during the clipping process with this loud noise around her face. And as you can see here, she got over it pretty quickly as I reassured her and let her know that everything was fine. And right here you could see that she's actually even just looking at the other horses. She's not even paying attention to the clippers. When you freeze brand a horse, you can use either dry ice and alcohol, or you can use liquid nitrogen. I prefer to use liquid nitrogen because I feel like it comes out with a much crisper and cleaner looking brand. Right here, I'm not actually branding her. I'm just checking my clip box to make sure that I clipped a big enough area that my brand will fit in there. And so then I go and put it back into the liquid nitrogen, and my brand tipped over and knocked the entire thing over. So I ended up having to go get more liquid nitrogen, and that's that fog you see right there. It's that liquid nitrogen. So once I got the area clipped, I take off Phil's hobbles and I move her over to the area where I'm going to tie her up and apply the brand. Again, there's no restraint on her other than the fact that she is tied, and there's no sedation involved, no medication, nothing, just as she is in everyday life. Prior to branding the area, you do need to saturate the area in alcohol. I use isopropyl alcohol, and that cleans the area of any debris or dust or anything that may cause the brand to come out blotchy, because you want the skin very clean. Here I just take it easy. Like I said, she's really weary about things that make noise around her face, so I just took it nice and slow and wiped off some of the dust and dirt and hair that was there. So here I go to apply the brand. I do grab her halter to minimize movement from her trying to turn her head and look at the horses in the pen behind her. But other than that, I mean, that's the only restraint that she has here. Again, no sedation or anything else. Depending on the ingredients that you use to cool your brand and what your brand is actually made out of, you need to hold it on for anywhere from 10 to 40 seconds. I hold mine on for 25, and you move it around to make sure that you get a nice, crisp, clear brand. And the cooling effect of the brand actually works as an anesthetic and numbs the area as it's branding. And then right here I'm done, and I make sure it's nice and crisp and clear. And I give her a kiss. She goes back to licking and chewing. She's perfectly fine. Freeze branding doesn't do any damage to the skin. What it does is actually kills the pigmentation in the hair follicle, so the hair grows back white. And so what you see is just like on Reba's brand, where that hair grows back white, just like the BLM brands on these Mustangs. And you can see here her lips are tight, and that's a significant indicator that she's not sedated. You can see she's alert in the eyes, alert in the ears, and there's no pain, and she's not scared of it being touched or anything.